Welcome back to the AI Builders Pod. Today, I'm joined by Denis, founder of Execuro and former chief architect of Spryker, where he spent 9 years scaling from a single product into a platform serving enterprises like Siemens, Aldi, and Daimler. We get into why architecture skill matters more in the age of AI, not less. Why buying Claude Code or Cursor isn't the finish line, it's barely the start. And the one thing separating the 5% of organizations actually winning with AI from everyone else. Hint, it's not the model. Let's get into it.
What? Hey, and I don't care about what they say. Come from a place where we pray for better days. Get it how you live, yeah, that's the only way.
Denis, welcome to the AI Builders Pod.
Hello, hi Sean, good to see you.
Likewise. Where are you dialing in from?
From Berlin. I'm based in Berlin and last now 11 years actually spent in Berlin.
How was
Long
your
time
AC?
already.
Long time, yeah. It's
Long time already.
yeah. Did you kind of anticipate going for 1 or 2 years and then?
Yeah, actually, like I thought at this time. So I actually relocated to Berlin when Berlin was it was 2015, 2016. It was a huge AI IT startup scene, and it was a huge IT hub here. With Rocket Internet was rocking. There was like the land that was just like early days was really booming, and so many developments. And About You was also very young, but technology was scaling crazy. So there are tons of startups and communities were built in this time. That's why I didn't find actually better place to be at this time. There was a couple of other options, but I thought no, Berlin is the one.
Yeah. I always love going to Berlin. It's just the tech scene there is pretty hot. And there's been a lot of investment in the Berlin ecosystem of late as well, which is kind of cool to see as well. But I was really excited to have you on, Denis, right? Like we've had, all range of people on the show in terms of like VPs of engineering, CTOs, security people, but you're the first real hardcore architect, on the show, right? And so I was really excited to have the conversation. And I guess like where we can start is, I guess, your experience with Spryker, right? Spryker is one of those marquee companies. When you think about like German unicorns, Spryker is top of that list. And you probably saw a lot of the journey of like going from early days to scaling it to hundreds of enterprise customers. So take me through that arc and what were the things that the lessons you learned and you still take with you today, even as AI is reshaping the industry. Like what are the core lessons that are still holding true?
Yeah, that was right, really. Spryker is a large company, and also it was a very interesting journey to work in a company that main customers were basically like top couple of hundreds of largest enterprises in the world, and it's a very unique position in general to be, and to work with with these companies to go with digital transformation together with them. That was something really like you cannot find it anywhere else. And like working, like I joined Spryker where it was still small product, just like one product line, just B2C e-commerce offering that we had, and then building it, and then like from really small and not production, maybe even not scalable version of product at the very early stage, to working with enterprises like Siemens Healthineers, like Aldi, like Daimler, like Hornbach, like 30 plus enterprises that I worked myself. This is absolutely an amazing, unbelievable journey. I now start to recap it. It's really a lot that passed during this time. And we started with just one offering and then scale it into B2B, into marketplaces. We built our own cloud solution. We built our front-end offering, and like 11 different products and 5 product lines with the whole developer experience set up and product line, which is amazing, really. If you as me, like an engineer at heart, and you like engineering products, and also you like building, being on this frontier of developer experience, it was something really special for me personally. I actually came there to work for Fabian Wessner, who was a CTO at Zalando, but then at Project A as well. And that was like the bar that we set for quality standards was super high. I remember developers were saying that when they opened Spryker code, they seen it the first time when someone would build everything by the book. So how you see it in the architecture, or like Martin Fowler or like Robert C. Martin are writing about these books, and it was written in the code. It was actually exactly like that, and the quality standard was crazy. It was not possible to pass code reviews without great architects and core developers like Mark Scher and Tamas commenting on all the nitty-gritty architectural issues you could, and smells. I mean, if it will be smell, it will be spotted. So it's a super cool environment. The standard for but to everyone, like you said it for yourself, but also to everybody. And we did basically most of job from discovering requirements to releasing features. So you had just everything at once. It's just amazing. Yeah, and I had on my own actually development arc, from core developer to lead architect to director, VP, and chief architect of Spryker. I spent there 9 years, no joke.
Yeah, but talk to me about like how you guys maintain the standards, right? Because there's a lot of pressure from business, and business want things today or tomorrow or yesterday, right? Like, how do you protect engineers to give them the space that they can actually build with quality and not have that time pressure? Like, how was that managed during at Spryker?
Yeah, so I think there are a few different Spryker versions of the organization that we had on the way, and this is like you reborn organization every time you go bigger. But in very early days, we had, I think, luxury of being in the front line of development, that you get top tier engineers joining company. I didn't have like really high restrictions on the hiring budgets. It was mostly like skills and experience and mindset that we were looking for, and you could get anyone from anywhere in the world, which was a very special position to get. But another one, we also had luxury of building an enterprise grade and kind of premium segment product where we were always kind of setting the architecture and the quality of software at front. So it was not only feature driven. We already, like, for example, there was a choice to build this feature or to build it right, and we were always choosing to build it right. So it means sometimes it led to refactorings, but that actually built very strong core concept of the framework that lasted for the next 10 years. So basically this first base principles gave us chance to drive this product further and develop it incrementally for the next 10 years, which is a very complicated task for an architecture early days, right? But that's the price you pay. I remember we had like time that we had as core engineers, we just had like 1-2 weeks just to play with other solutions to understand what's available, like to discover this area. Can you imagine someone now give a task, like engineering task, like in other organizations 10 years ago, and say, okay, now we have 2 weeks or like 1 week to read books about this problem. So you go and you read Elasticsearch books, you read the architecture books, you read this and that, and then you come with solutions, not like upfront. Unbelievable, right? But this time
books. Imagine people reading books.
This is like it was like probably not the most efficient time spent actually, but I mean, people were coming with all sorts of great ideas afterwards, even not on this topic but on other topics as well, because you're touching so many different authors and views and kind of how people build software in general. It was the question, not just how to build e-commerce, but how to build good quality software. And it was always a topic. We had the high standard, but also high throughput. So with these high quality standards, after you spend 1 week discovering this topic, you need so much end to end that to build it actually was like 1-2 weeks on top. It was never like a half year development project. Even we were building huge B2B suites. Like we were opening a new market. Imagine how crazy is that. And we were able to do it like in probably couple of like maybe 1.5 months, like 6 weeks or something, to launch to build the first version, because everybody knew the main model and architecture principles so well that every business change that was coming on the way of development was actually easy to comprehend, because we were open for new options. Architecture was flexible, and so on. So it was kind of playing together very well. So we were building high quality software, but also understanding the time pressure, and then we were able to build it faster than business would expect, because we knew it so well, and because the product was well structured. So we had this kind of fixed price, really easy to estimate, like a couple of weeks for feature delivery, and everything was even under pressure of changes of these requirements, it was possible.
That's pretty cool. And like, so I kind of started the question of like what principles are carried forward to AI, right? And that sounds like a core principle that people are rediscovering, right? Which is let's spend a bit of time up front, because like AI gives you the illusion that you can build everything, right? But
Yes.
you know, the reality is different. I think people are figuring out that for themselves now. But like, more time, I'm seeing more engineers spend more time up front doing the research, doing the PRDs, speccing it out more before they give a task to Claude or Cursor, right? Like, I guess you guys were doing it, right? Before AI was cool, but like what principles have not changed, and what principles have changed in the era of AI in your world?
Yeah, actually, that's interesting that, first of all, what didn't change is this demand for understanding the architecture. It only grew, right? And if you see now, if you look into teams and you find this like 1, 2, maybe 3 people per team who are very good at AI and agentic engineering, they would be usually very good at architecture design as well. They would be not just be able to code well, so they're good coders for sure, but also they would be able to engineer. And this architecture as a skill, I think it's also part of it. It's a mindset, like how you start with requirements, because the part of your design solution there in requirements. If your requirements designed badly, your solution will be designed badly as well. So there is no no way back. So basically, every decision you lock very early in the process will be a problem later, right? So understanding these base architecture principles, right? Keeping your options open, right? Like as like when I was training my own architecture team, which by the way at Spryker was the highest density of architects per developer. I think we had like at some point I had up to like 70 people in my team, like on the solution architecture side and product engineering side, obviously, but still it was like the highest density I think in the industry of architects. But when I was training everybody, there were like a couple of principles that we were really committing to, and one of them was keep your options open. Don't resolve topics or questions that you don't need to answer right now. So keep them for later, because you will have better idea, better information. You will be more mature yourself to answer these questions when you're ready. And this is like this mindset of architecture, right? And that's why you see these people so well performing, because they can manage systems. And if you can manage systems, you can also manage engineers and people who build these systems, because you can sculpt them properly. You can isolate subparts and subsystems. And agents are excelling in this environment, right? If a person can sculpt it, well-define requirements, be very clear about functional and non-functional requirements, agents just excel in it, right? And who is this person who was doing it before? It usually was a technical lead or lead engineer or architect, so someone who actually had this architecture acumen, who knew design principles, could define the quality criteria, and that's exactly what agents need now.
And so, is that driven by engineers, or is it driven by management? Like where? Because when I talk to some people, right, they talk and say, look, AI isn't working for me. But then when I talk to other people that have made AI work, it's like they've really invested, them as a leader, invested in understanding how to use AI effectively and coding agents effectively. And they might not be the experts and they might not be the best at like writing standards and definitions, because they've got other jobs to do as well. But it's like driven from the top down of like, actually, no, it's how you use this power tool versus blaming AI when it goes wrong, right? So like, when you're working with customers and clients, like, how do you help them understand that concept of like the system design thinking, and it's actually more input
I think
output?
I think this is the kind of last issue that comes. It's like first comes the mindset issue that people think that if you buy these AI tools like coding agents like Claude or Claude Code or Cursor, then you kind of already halfway through. But it's actually you didn't even start if you get the tools on board. And funny enough, in some companies, procurement works for 3 to 6 months, so they didn't even see tools yet, really at scale, which is funny. They are like full scale, like full pedal, full gas on transformation. They didn't get the tools yet. So and that means they didn't even like probe the cold waters, and cold waters are really deep. So and this solving architectural issues is usually comes later. Like I always like there's so many kind of mindset issues to solve at the beginning. First of all, like just understand that there are two types of programming now. It's like one is vibe coding and one is agentic engineering. And this just conceptual understanding already is a huge progress, because one thing is to have vibe coded applications where you deeply care what it does, but you don't really care how exactly it's built. Like if you build a small internal application for Excel sheet transformation, you don't care exactly what architecture is underneath. It works. It's amazing, right? But then if you serve like 1.3 billion of revenue with your digital product, and you have thousands, like hundreds of thousands of customers every month visiting your website, so there is no way you wipe code it, right? You want to have full control over security parameters, performance parameters, like compliance, everything, right? Like every single aspect, you want to know exactly how it's built. And not only know, but ensure it is exactly to the standard you want, right? And this is like this understanding is already going to set the right milestones, because the one way you can live in this like rainbow world where everything is possible immediately yesterday, and another one you actually set on the journey of IT and organization transformation into agentic world. And this journey is long, and it's also fun, by the way. There's a lot of fun journey, like side quests that you have, and challenges that you need to go. But if you approach this as like, okay, I will just go and change everything by a couple of activities, and these 2-3 people who in my organization really good building POCs and MVPs, they will change my organization. No, this will not happen with you, right? So that's why like this architectural, and then architecture comes just like very late, like it comes later, because if you have a very good disciplined organization in terms of architecture and technology, you get better at it, because AI can accelerate what you already have. Like the number one kind of impact is if you have some scratches and little cracks here and there in the development process, then you put AI on that and it will just break. So, and the opposite is true as well. If your SDLC is a well oiled, measured, structured, optimized machine, you put AI in it, it strives. You get to like autonomous development so quickly, because you have the right artifact in place. You don't have 11 meetings so that people hand off their artifacts to run one feature, right? No, it doesn't happen anymore. But if you have this in your organization, if you like it breaks immediately. The second thing that breaks, it's you got with code reviews, but it's a general SDLC problem, right? It's your process is not ready for that, and it will break. Yeah.
So, which is interesting, right? Because you're selling well. I think sometimes people look at AI as just like coding, right? But actually, it's much more, and it has a much wider coverage than that, right? So if you go in and tell a CTO that it's going to take you 2 years, right, to get this up and running and realize the potential, like, and you have to be brave enough as well to take on that and say, I need to rebuild from the ground up, right? It's almost like a digital twin, but a better digital twin of your current processes for AI, right? Like, what are CTOs, like the ones that are really embracing AI, like how are they justifying the cost, and how are they like understanding the sunk costs versus the capex involved and stuff like that?
Yeah. So look, there are two points on that. The first one, I think that the transformation journey is long, but the first benefits you can get much faster, right?
Right.
People are afraid like how can they get the same quality software at faster speed, but usually you get a higher quality software at faster speed. And this is you don't need to solve all of your problems, or like solve the whole SDLC to get the first wins. You can get it much faster. Like just the UX designers producing full complete features. If you imagine like you're a product designer, right, and you don't have any new technical decisions to make. You just want to build a new page, and you want to have new widget, and it will use the same technology, same platform, same databases and data structures, right? But you want to have it a new view, new look and feel for your customers. You can do it now without any engineer involved at all. How crazy is that, right? You don't have these planning meetings. You don't have this structure, and this is not. It doesn't require a full restructuring of your SDLC. It doesn't require it. It requires some maturity on agentic harness and some agentic engineering expertise in it. However, this is accessible quite fast. You can get a couple of weeks, maybe 1 month of investment. You can get there. But the longer path, it's on quality standards. If you never measured performance, this will be a huge challenge for you. So if you say like we want to be performant, but if you never said that, okay, what performance means for you in the organization, it's a huge challenge because agents will not define it for you. They will define happily, but not what you want, right? So that's why, and many IT organizations face this very first time. They actually start to think, and they are required to think what security parameters do they have, what actually, like, not only penetration tests, but what security parameters do you want to have, like what the limitations, what the conditions you operate in. They start to think it first time, and this is a really hard exercise if you're facing it for the first time. That's where it takes really months, and sometimes I don't know, might take years to overcome. And I even think that many organizations are not even getting there. Like the level of disruption of smaller teams and startups is so high, and the level of commitment, real commitment, not like the slide deck and the budget cap commitment, but like real execution on the digital, like on AI agentic transformation in a larger IT organizations is so low that it looks like you have progress, but then you start measuring, nothing works. But the reason for that is still operationally you're not set for that, and you don't give a framework, and you don't give guidance for your people how to work in the new world, how to work in the new paradigm, right? But the first, like the opposite to it, like how to justify the budget, the first budget justification is much faster. I run this 2 days bootcamp workshop, and in just 2 days you can get tons of things results. You get the first, agentic harness in place. You get the engineering teams have the same level of understanding how coding agents work. Then they understand the base principle for agentic engineering, like SDD, domain-driven documentation, guidelines, guardrails. They have the whole package. Like 2 days. What is 2 days investment? Is nothing, right? Like you get all of this in your hands. It's not, and after it, not. It's not like everybody is coming with new SDD framework and say like, look at this beautiful thing that I found on the internet. No, you have something working. You can actually start producing features using agentic engineering in just 2 days. How crazy, right? But if you want to go forward, right, like after you anchor the first version, you get individual productivities to scaling in teams and scale it cross teams and cross departments and enterprise grade. That is the long path. This is what takes a lot of time to actually overcome it. So, and this is not like how to release a few features faster, right?
Do you think we've done this in the wrong way, right? Because like if you look at Silicon Valley and a lot of the tech native companies in the Bay Area, they've just given like access to all their engineers. Right, and then they've just sat back and just monitored output tokens to figure out, okay, who was their power users. But during that time as well, like their power users have probably developed the right harnesses, the right skills, like really invested in their agent MDs and stuff like that. So they're becoming more proficient, and you probably can see them producing more and their tokens going down. But you've got the rest of the org, which might represent 80, 90, 95% of your engineers, still using AI, but developing bad habits, and you're just seeing like money just catching fire. Like, do you think there's going to be a process now where we're going to have to undo all that and relearn how to use AI?
Yeah, look, this is like we still, compare apples to hardware. It's very hard. These companies that we usually talk on these top headlines of news, they're AI native by design. So day one, they're AI native, right? They didn't have any constraints. Many of these companies, even like they don't have a history of 10 years of development of software inside the organization where the architecture decisions and business decisions were just stuck in one after another. They're quite fresh and new in a way. And their organization structure was AI native day one, basically, right? Like you look Anthropic.
But if you look at Uber, right? But if you look at Uber, you look at Meta, you look at like companies that have been there for 10 plus years, like they're tech native, yes, absolutely, right? But they've kind of like just token maxed it, right? Go spin as much tokens you want. We'll have leaderboards and stuff like that. Do you think we're going to spend a lot of time undoing those bad habits? And you think that's going to have a negative view on like the real potential of AI?
So look, I think it's not a yet bad habit on spending a lot of tokens. It depends on which phase you are. Like if you're just starting, like spending more tokens is just good for you. And I understand that everybody is like now super concerned. Yeah, it's not even allowed now to token max. Like it's keyword token max. It's not allowed keyword in conversations.
Thank God.
But I think again, this is a controversial thing. But at the beginning, I think it's still important thing. It's important phase every team need to overcome because it's still barrier. You will be surprised. Like we live in this LinkedIn bubble where everybody knows everything about agentic engineering and they know exactly how to do it in the right way, in the most perfect way for every organization, obviously. But it's not true outside in the real world. In the real world, they're like 90% of engineers are still concerned what's going on. They don't understand really how this principle works. Even they tried it on their private accounts, it actually never worked out in their enterprise scope, right? And this is still something to educate, and you need to give them really opportunity to push them through that to really get the feeling of what is a new way of building things. But then obviously, like going forward, you need to be very cautious about token max, and then companies take different strategies here. Like we had these conversations with OpenAI and Google engineers, and they see it very differently. Like in OpenAI, token max is still part of the strategy. It's kind of everybody needs to like they have still this leadership board, and kind of it's good to spend more, burn more tokens. But in Google, they are very like strategically they limit their token consumption. They already think about that inside the organization, and this you can imagine that that's how they will also propagate it into their clients, right? So basically how to think about the token burns, how to get limitations per developer, what type of task and measurements happen. And I think here Google is kind of more mature. I don't think that I think it also limits in a way your development, the speed of development, especially if you're on frontier. But it's also kind of very mature look at that because every enterprise organization will need to look at this, and after first wins, they will need to go to Google strategy and to look into how much they burn per token, for what kind of tasks they burn, right? And this also comes to metrics. You want to learn how to measure it, and this is a learning curve because people say how to measure it. They never install Dora metrics. Dora metrics is like 1 to days you can get the first instrumentation in. There are tons of like OTel and other instrumentation tools ready for that. But measuring token per value, good luck with this. It's an exercise. You need to learn how to do it. You need to get this connection. It's not so trivial as it seems like, because it's so many people involved in different stages, and then how to measure value in general for your company. If you never answer it, how can you measure it per token? And it's a learning curve as well. You need to start doing that. And I think as sooner you start doing that, as better, because you will come to this phase anyway, when CFO will come to you with your bill from the last quarter and say, okay, this cannot repeat anymore, right? What you do next, who you will deprioritize, because everybody is the same. So it's a good challenge, and I think it's one that people started to think of. At the last CTO bootcamp, we already had I think maybe 20% of last CTO bootcamp by Alpha List in München. We got already 20% of people already got concerned about that, which means they already instrumented metrics, but they're not capturing what they want to measure. Because it's not like they not only want to measure what is the general impact to SDLC, how SDLC growing. They want to specifically distinguish how agentic engineering impacts separately from all other impact that they do, because they do tons of changes, right? Like there are people moving, there are people changing, but how to understand what is agentic engineering impact and all of the activities and changes that they do in SDLC. Complicated task, right? And there are ways of solving that. The good thing is there are ways of solving that, and some companies already reach this level of maturity. But I think starting early to train yourself on this framework, especially engineering managers, VP engineering, CTOs, this is a very helpful exercise for yourself.
So walk us through that. Walk us through that, right? Because that's really interesting. Because I speak to a lot of CTOs, and they're now in a position where they're struggling to they're trying to justify, they're trying to prove AI adoption, and then they're trying to prove the ROI, right, to that CFO. So talk me through how you would set the foundation and then layer on top of that, then help them.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, what I would start with is these basics, because the speed of instrumentation matters. If you will now spend another 3 months of planning metrics, and you will instrument them, the first metrics by end of the year, you will only start tracking from this time, right? This is a kind of the whole logic of the data collection metrics, that you need to start tracking as early as possible. That's why I would really start, if you have no metric culture for your SDLC, I would start anchoring the very basic things like DORA metrics, like defects in production, like returns, like feature or release returns, right? Like if you need to roll back something, or if you have production issues or defects per release. So this these metrics are always there, but if you never did that, I would recommend to just instrument that and forget for a moment, right? It's not even about agentic engineering. It will help you later in general. But then you can start getting deeper, one layer deeper. You can start thinking of, okay, I want to track something like lead time, cycle time per ticket, per feature. I want to also track agentic harness telemetry. Good, thanks God, there's already telemetry kind of native to it. You can get it in very base metric, very simple. But you can also extend them. Not many people know that there are hooks that actually give you ability to track much more and analyze even semantics of prompts and tasks that agents perform, which is amazing thing, right? Like you can actually tag them. You can say, actually, here someone was working on a private task separately from my project. Just again, not to punish anyone, but to understand like what kind of tasks they get solved, right? Like here they're asking private questions from coding gadgets. What the hell? But another one is just to understand, this is like QA type of task. This is like execution. This is validation. Like where time is distributed. This will be helpful later to get the group distribution on where tokens are spent. Like, do you spend most of token for validation? Because you connected Playwright via MCP and not like CLI, and that's why you spend 10 times more tokens than Playwright CLI at scale, right? Or problem is because someone is continuously pushing the wrong discovery questions. By wrong, I mean like vague, unpredictable. Then agents spend a lot of time figuring out what actually this person meant and so on. It's agentic harness telemetry and instrumentation really helpful. But again, you start collecting it earlier. You get to learn how to use this data later, but you start collecting it earlier.
Right.
And a couple of other metrics I can also give out of my mind. It's like tokens per feature would be interesting metric. And another important I would recommend to early start measuring, it's number of changes with human in the loop, human only versus unsupervised. This is like at the very beginning, unsupervised, it might be 0, which is good. But it's very important that you establish a system where you start tracking that. And again, with some companies, we do it on GitHub, just labeling. In some companies, we do it on their task tracker system, like supports, ticketing system, help desk, and so on, and some Jira. In some, we do custom tools. But it is important to start differentiating earlier, because you will see that buckets are changing over time. You will get first one unsupervised type of task that you get developed by agents. But the interesting thing that composition of expenses is different for each of these buckets. Imagine that you have like kind of salaries of a person using tools and doing stuff on this ticket, and unsupervised, it's complete only agents only. And this whole like 13 million bill to Anthropic is much easier to justify, saying, look, this is the actual bucket we delivered completely unsupervised, and this is the bucket we want to grow, right? And here's in this bucket of 13 million, we have 80% now of upfront investment. Later it will be smaller, but bucket will be bigger, right? It's much easier to tell a story about it.
Yeah, I like that arc of that story, actually. And it's also signaling trust from your engineers, is that like, we're going to focus on the most cognitive high tasks that we need to focus on, right? Like, real challenging tasks and the upfront system designs and all that, while AI probably starts end-to-end focus on like boilerplate changes or something like that, and then gradually gets more complicated. So you talked about the harness, right? And I guess open weight models have come into vogue. Like, based on your experience in working with organizations, are CTOs now talking about open weight models, and are they seeing the value of the harness? Because it's like the equation of like harness plus model equals agent, right? Are you seeing that playing out in the field?
Yes, actually yes, and even more. I think after, like, I understood it only probably mid this year, somewhere probably in April. But I understood that after October last year release in 2025, when Opus type of models were out there, this whole race for better models, it's kind of, for me, it's outdated. I'm not after this time, like after somewhere April, May this year, I actually stopped so precisely watching these releases, because for me it is more important now on what ecosystem infrastructure components come to enhance the harness pieces than the models. Because you can now, with Opus style models, and not only Opus but even Sonnet, like the latest Sonnet is also great for workhorse model for typical engineering tasks, right? You can actually achieve almost everything with just more iterations. Like you don't need more, like a higher intelligence model. Like, for, again, it's 80-20 as usual. Yes, there are some tasks you need them, but like 80% of tasks you're doing today, you don't need to have smarter models. You just need more iterations or smarter iterations. So basically better structured iterations, self-validation, feedback loops, agentic harness improvements. And that's where I think now agentic harness it's a winning game story. So first of all, you can see how many of them are out there. Like people don't recognize that Claude Design, it's agentic harness. It's not a product by itself. Like it's like a completely different product that they built. It's just agentic harness to build the agents in a way that would follow something. And same
Code is an agentic harness as well.
Claude Code, yeah, exactly. Like, Claude Code is just like one that especially CTO have first in mind. But I also want to say Claude Code is agentic harness. Claude Design is agentic harness. Claude Cowork is agentic harness on top of Claude Code agentic harness. Imagine that it's a next level agentic harness. And many enterprise organizations, that's what I do with my clients. We build agentic harness, but specialize for their project, right? It's same as like Claude Design is different to Claude Code. Same agentic harness built for enterprise organization, building insurance products, would be different from agentic harness, generic agentic harness, which is Claude Code, right? It's very different. And you see how much value and power you get just by getting it right with the same level of models. Again, you don't need to have smarter models. There is, smart or interesting study about that because many analysts now focus on what kind of organizations, what IT AI projects will fail. But BCG was actually studying what projects succeed. So, and they found that there are only like 5% of organizations who figured out something that actually gave them, there is much more revenue. They said like it's 1.7 times a higher revenue per capita. They also said there was some other efficiency gains and security improvements, but there are only 5% of companies that got these gains. The funny part is they all use the same models. So access to models exactly the same, right? So that means maybe it's not about Anthropic versus OpenAI model selection or Opus versus Sonnet. Maybe something else you need to discover going forward. But talking about open weight, it's a completely different story, obviously, like closing this agentic harness story. So I think this is now the game changer. Basically, organizations figure out that agentic harness is their lever, can now get these gains. But if you are still fetching with complicated AI proxies and AI gateways, better models, probably you are spending time. Maybe you get some increase in productivity for sure, but it's not your main lever. This is the only point.
Yeah, and I saw some research recently with SimGrep, the security tool, and their security harness plus, I think, a low rung of like GPT actually GLM outperformed the top models.
Yes.
So it's
I'm not sure about outperforming. I still think it's also a way how you measure them, but the fact that they are catching up and they are priced at the portion of price of Anthropic models, this is mind-blowing. Just the same, I just had for my task, I did analytics, and I had a comparison between Opus and some Chinese open weight models, let's put it this way. And there was like $25 versus $4 per million of tokens. That for the task that I need to do, it was significant change. Obviously, it's something that it will develop, and this is good to be up to date and already start playing with that, because if you're looking in just for these high price models, if you don't know what AI proxy or how to use AI gateways, how to do this, like task selection, it's a smart task that you also need to learn how to do it. It's not like you just hook in the model, it will do everything for you. No, then usually you want to have like for some type of task you want to have that model, for another type of task you want to have another model, and it's not a trivial task to do this selection and downgrading or upgrading the model when you need it. So it's also something you need to learn. But the fact that these open weight models growing in productivity and in quality with just a portion of price, this is an absolute winner strategy for them. And I think also this is the reason why China now also says, like governance of China says, that they want to restrict usage of models for external, for export. Similar way how US restricted Fable, right? So they also want to build a framework for that, which is kind of a way to protect their IP, obviously.
Yeah.
But open weight models, it's something we need to closely watch and test out, because I don't think we are very long time from being able to run inference ourselves. Maybe it's not today, maybe it's not next week, but I think we are not very far anymore. Like if last year I couldn't believe that, if I would look like in this like 400 terabyte of RAM consumed for inference, you could not just even imagine that. But now you think, okay, this is now the largest version of Hetzner. You can the lowest tier of DLM you can run on highest tier of Hetzner. Now it starts to kind of make sense, right?
Exactly. It's I see a lot of companies now, and they're not overfitting anymore, right? Like, why do we need a Ferrari all the time when we can do the same job with a Volkswagen, right? Like it's so like they're getting up to speed with that and getting comfortable, because as you said, like the models it's just diminishing returns, right? With a lot of the models. Denis, right, last question, and I asked this to everybody, right? Again, you kind of mentioned it, you touched on it earlier, right? Like we're kind of all in this echo chamber of LinkedIn or X, right? And we kind of all get the cutting edge news of like, oh my God, I've done this. Okay, right, great. Have you done that? Yeah. It's a double echo chamber, right? Like, but you are working with a lot of CTOs at the coalface, a lot of engineering leaders at the coalface. Like, what is the signal that you think everybody is missing and that hasn't propagated to LinkedIn or X?
Yeah. So look, I think that what is missing now, especially for leadership role, technology leadership roles, it's hands-on experience, because this change is so big. and it's a change in mental model and the way how we produce software. In the past, you could rely on your on your principles that you learned over your career, and you could then build your leadership career of like 20, 30 years on 10 years of developer experience. And that's where many of us are sitting. So we try to make new decisions based on our previous experience with software engineering that we've seen before, which is all this DLC, tools that we never we experienced, and so on. And if in the last year CTO summit in Hamburg by AlphaList as well, I remember CTO of Versal was asking how many of you have an agenda on AI for 2026, and 95% of people were raising their hands, like CTO saying, yeah, we are. And then how many of you have hands-on experience? And like 5-10% of people were raising their hands.
Yeah.
So basically, these people hand over tasks to execute on AI and transformation to down below to people who also don't have experience with that, and also they set expectations that are sometimes unrealistic, or expectations sometimes they are not compatible. So they're not compatible to new reality. The expectation of just having engineers producing more tickets today per engineer, it might be wrong metrics today, but if you don't understand how agentic engineering works, what is AI dark factories, you will still measure it, right? And I think that what many CTOs means that we build our decisions, we make our decisions on our build experience from the past. But this change is so big, it's this trend is so tremendous. You need to get your hands dirty, and you need to try it out. You need to see it. Until you've seen it yourself, it's very hard to explain to your team what you want from it, for where to lead, how to build a strategy on top of that. Because again, the principles are different. The patterns are different. So it's undeterministic system compared to deterministic system we knew in the past. Patterns different. I recommend everybody to get their hands dirty, to put their sleeves a little bit for maybe a couple of weeks, close yourself and really do it. Not talking too much, prioritizing hands-on experience for a couple of weeks. It will help really.
I love that. It's leading from the front.
Absolutely.
So
This is this time. It was many years before. It wasn't so important.
Yeah.
But I think at this pivotal change, it's such important to do it. To be hands-on, to really understand what you are doing and how.
Yeah. Love that. Denis, great to have you on, man. There's a lot of great takeaways there from people, for people. So yeah, always good to chat.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Also, was a great conversation. Was happy to lead some light, and also looking forward to our next chats as well.
Great stuff.